This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
The period of the Yemei HaSlichos, we understand that in a little bit over a week, we're all going to be standing before the Borei Olam. We'll be deciding our fate for the upcoming year. Mi Yichya, Chas v'Shalom, the opposite. In the days of old, during the Yemei HaSlichos, there was an atmosphere of fear and awe in the air. It was palpable in the air, you could feel it. Rav Pam Zecher Tzaddik Livracha would recount his early childhood memories about what the Yemei HaSlichos were like in a small town, in a small village, in Lita in Lithuania. Rav Pam would say how well before the crack of dawn, the shamish would come around banging on the shutters, Yidin Kim Tzlichos. Says Rav Pam, during those days, in the small villages, in the small towns in Lithuania, there was nothing that could distract them from the Yemei Hadin, from the Yemei HaTshuva. Even the children felt it in the air. Even their childhood games took on a more somber tone. For us, however, living in the United States of America, it's very difficult for us to experience these types of feelings. Our minds and our hearts are dulled by the tumult of the world around us. We have so many responsibilities vying for our attention. We're so distracted, we're so preoccupied, making it very difficult to adequately prepare ourselves and to understand the seriousness of the days. Most importantly, though, it is very hard for us to comprehend what exactly is at stake during the Yom Noiram. Because we feel very secure. We feel very complacent. We all feel complacent with our lives, with our health, with our parnasa, with our success, and we tend to think that the way things have been and the way things are, that's the way they'll always be. Comes Rav Eisel Charif in his Sefer Emek Yehoshua, and he offers an idea that shakes up a little bit this complacency. We're all aware, what is Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah is the annual Yom Adin. Ask Rav Eisel Charif, what's the big deal? What are we so scared of? What are we so afraid of? Doesn't the Gemara tell us in Masechta Rosh Hashanah Daf Tezayin, Rabbi Yossi Omer, Adam Nidoin B'chol Yom. Rabbi Yossi says a person is judged every single day. So if a person is judged every single day, what then is so unique? What is special? What is so awesome about the Rosh Hashanah, about the Yom Adin, the annual Yom Adin? If there's a daily Yom Adin, what is special about the yearly Yom Adin? Says Rav Eisel Charif, a very frightening thought. Says Rav Eisel Charif, that during the course of the year, there is a daily judgment. But there's also a chazaka. There's also a certain status quo. Regarding the talents, regarding the blessings, regarding the health, regarding the parnasa, there's a certain status quo. There's a certain chazaka. There's a certain influence that the way things have been, it will probably continue that way unless an adjustment needs to be made. So every day, the Rebbe Shalom looks at a person's account and determines whether an adjustment needs to be made to the status quo. But there is a status quo. There is a chazaka. Says Rav Eisel Charif, when Rosh Hashanah comes, all bets are off. The lease is over. The contract is ended. All the blessings, all the health, all the parnasa, all the gezint, all the nachas is over. The lease is over. And a new contract has to be negotiated. A new lease has to be negotiated. Past performance is no reflection of future outcome. The way things have been in no way has any influence on the way things will be. The lease is ended. And that is why, says Rav Eisel Charif, Rosh Hashanah needs to evoke a great degree of yira in our hearts. Because we have nothing in the bank. We have nothing in our pockets. Rav Shlomo Hyman, one of the early Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva Tarvadas, he used to say over with great emotion what his Rebbe, the Granad Hagon Rav Naftali Trupp, once said over Leil Slichos. Rav Naftali Trupp, one year before Slichos, he got up to speak, and he spoke about one of the emotion-laden stanzas of the Slichos. We say, Ribono Shel Olam, Loi b'chesed, v'loi b'masim, banu lefanecha. Kedalim u'chirashim dafaknu d'lasecha. We say, Ribbon Shalom, we don't have any kindness, we don't have any ma'asim tovim, we have no mitzvahs. We stand before you, ke'ani ve'evyain. The simple meaning of this line is that when the Yomim Noraim come, when a Rosh Hashanah comes, when a Yom Kippur comes, we don't have the chutzpah, we don't have the audacity to come before the Ribbon Shalom and say, look at my record. Look how many mitzvahs I did this year. Look how much Torah I learned this year. Look how wonderful my tefillah was. Ribbon Shalom, I deserve a good year. I've earned a good year. I'm entitled to a good year. Look at my record. We don't have such chutzpah. We say, Ribbon Shalom, we stand before you Kedalim uchirashim, like somebody who knocks on the door of a wealthy man asking for charity, asking for tzedakah. We don't feel entitled. We don't feel we earned it. Kedalim uchirashim dafaknu do'asech. The Gemara says in Masechta Rosh Hashanah that what type of attitude do we need to have a successful Yom Adin? Says the Gemara, Kol shana sherosha betchilasa misasheres b'soifa. That if at the beginning of the year a person comes with feelings of humility, with feelings of hachna, with a leiv nishbar, with a leiv nidkeh, then, says the Gemara, at the end of the year, you'll look back and you'll see it was a good year. The attitude of the Yomim Noraim is ke'ani ve'evyain. We don't deserve it. We haven't earned it. We don't feel entitled to it. But said Reb Naftali Trapp, this verse, this stanza, has a different meaning as well. Says Reb Naftali Trapp, you know what it means? Kedalim ucharashim dafakna d'lasecha. Even the wealthiest man, even the most successful man, even the person who has the most nachas from their children, when they stand before the Ribbon Shalom on Rosh Hashanah, they have nothing. The lease is over. The contract is over. All bets are off. No success, no blessing. Nothing we had last year has any influence whatsoever what the upcoming year will be like. This is what it means, Kedalim uchirashim dafaknu d'lasecha. Literally, whatever we had is no longer. It has to be renegotiated. It has to be dealt again. And when we understand what the Yom Hadin means, what a Rosh Hashanah means, what an Aseret Yimei Tshuva means, what a Yom Kippur means, that literally everything we want, everything we hope for, everything we daven for, it's all being revisited, it's all being determined, it's all being scrutinized. This will give us the added motivation, the added impetus to dig a little deeper and make all the changes that we all need, we all know that we need to make. But as Rosh Hashanah approaches, very often it's an overwhelming task. We want to change, we want to improve. It's not easy to change. There was once a woman. She lived in the city of Shunam. And this woman would host the Navi Elisha whenever Elisha had the need to be in the city. In fact, the woman built a special aliyas kir. She built a special appendage to her home so that whenever Elisha would need to come to the city, he would stay in this attic that she built specially for the Navi. And the pasuk tells us, if you look in Malachim Beis, Parak Daled, pasuk Yud Aleph, the pasuk says like this: Vayehi Hayom, the day came. Vayavoy Shama, he came to her house. Vayasar El Ho'aliyah, Vayishkav Shama, Elisha spent the night in the attic of this Isha Hashunamis. And Elisha wakes up in the morning, and he's so grateful to the woman that he tells his attendant Gehazi, he calls Gehazi, he says, Gehazi, what could we do to this woman? How could we repay this woman? How could we show Hakaras HaTov? So they get the woman, and Gehazi says to the woman in Pasuk Yud Gimel, Hine charadet eleinu kol hacharoda hazois. You went through so much trouble to provide for me in this way. Is there anything I could do for you? So the Navi says that Elisha asks her, Ma lasois lach, what could we do for you? Hayish ledaber l'cha el hamelech. Could we speak to the king for you? Maybe you have a parking ticket you need to get off. What could we do for you? Oy al sar hatzava. Can we speak to the general? Is there anything that we could do to repay you? And the woman says, Ba'toimer, no thanks. Desoich ami anoichi yoshanas. Don't daven for me. Don't give me anything. Don't repay me. I don't want a thing. B'soich ami anochi yoshavas. I'm good. Here you have a woman. The Gadol Hadar asks her, is there anything that I could do for you? So the Gadol has the entire heavens at his disposal. He could tell the Rebbeinu Shalom order anything. And the woman says, no thank you. I don't need anything. What's the pshat? And it's even more difficult in light of the fact that in the upcoming psukim, the Navi says that this woman was an Isha Akara. She was a barren woman. She was childless. She was unsuccessful in having children. And the Gadol Hadar says, I'll give you anything. Whatever you want, I will give to you. But she says, no, I don't need anything. No, thank you. And this is even more puzzling, because Chazal say that it says, Vayehi Hayoim. It says it was that day. It says the Zohar HaKadosh, and remember this. In Tanakh, whenever it says the word Hayoim, Hayoim means Rosh Hashanah. Atem Nitzavim Hayoim. Rosh Hashanah. Iyov. Vayehi Hayoim. Zohar says, Rosh Hashanah. Hayoim in Tanakh means Rosh Hashanah. Says the Zohar, that day was Rosh Hashanah. And the Gadol Hadar is saying, on the Yom Hadin HaGadol v'Hanoira, the day that Sarah was nifgad, the day Sarah was remembered with children, the Gadol Hadar says, would you like me to daven for you? And she says, no thank you. I don't need anything. B'soich ami anochi yoshavas. What's the pshat? We stand here a little bit over a week before Rosh Hashanah, and we're trying our best to do tshuva. Everybody knows what they need to change. Lev yodeya moras nafshay. And it's very hard to do tshuva. You know, Rabbeinu Yoina writes, and during the Yom Naram, it's recommended, besides regular Siddharim, to learn a little Musar, Rabbeinu Yoina, Mesilas Yesharim, Chayvus Havavah, something. Rabbeinu Yoina says, you want to do a tshuva shlema, you want to do a complete tshuva, there are a lot of ingredients that go into doing tshuva. The Rambam says there are 4 ingredients of tshuva. Rabbeinu Yoina says, well, tshuva is like laundry. There are 20 ingredients necessary to do tshuva. And you look at a Rabbeinu Yoina and you say to yourself, how am I going to do it? It's a big avodah to do tshuva. We need a trick. We need a shortcut. Is it possible in a short amount of time? Is there a shortcut? Is there a bypass? Is there a way? Is there some kind of eitzah that we can do in a short amount of time, maybe without doing a full tshuva, to get a good Yom Hadin? And there is a trick. And the trick is, B'soich ami anochi yoshavas. There's a Zohar HaKadosh. The Zohar says on Parshas Noach, says the Zohar, Hahi yoima Yom Tif de Rosh Hashanah hava. That day was the Yom Tif of Rosh Hashanah. V'kuchabrichu doin alma, and the Rebbeinu Shalom was judging the world. And when Elisha asks her, Hayesh l'cha ledaber el hamelech, can I speak to the king? You know who the king was? It's the Rebbeinu Shalom. Who else is the king during the Yom Naram other than the Rebbeinu Shalom? The Melech. HaMelech HaKadosh, HaMelech HaMishpat. And Elisha tells her, you want me to go straight to the king, whatever you want. And what's her answer? No thank you. Don't daven for me, don't mention me, don't give me anything. Why not? Says the Zohar, V'atoimer b'soich ami anoichi yoshavas, Loi bo'inon de'idkarun bi v'ashgichun bi ela b'toich ami. Don't say my name, don't mention me, don't look at me. I want, so to speak, to get lost among the crowd. I don't want Hashem to pay attention to me. Says the Zohar, Man da'ayul reisha bein ama lo yishkichun alei lamedan alei lavish. If you throw your head, if you throw yourself among the Tzibbur, they will not judge you bad on the Yom Hadin. In other words, what the woman was saying is that as an individual, as a yachid, I'm afraid of the din. I don't think I could stand up to the din. I'm going to throw my mazel with the tzibur. And if the Rebbeinu Shalom judges me as another member of the tzibur, nothing will happen. I'm protected. I feel I'm protected. But to stand up to the scrutiny of the judgment as an individual, she didn't think she could do that. But what's the problem? wouldn't she be protected by the tefillos of the Gadol Hadar Elisha? Elisha is saying, I will mention your name to Hashem. I will say, Hashem, give the woman children, and Hashem will do that. What's the problem? Says Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, Tafshin Lamed Gimel Maimer Yud Ches. Said Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, any yachid, no matter how big of a tzaddik, no matter how great, even if the Gadol Hadar is davening for you, cannot stand up to the scrutiny of the din. The Gemara tells us one of the four things that we have no comprehension of is the oimek hadin, how strict the judgment is. Every individual has faults. Every individual has chatoim. Every individual has flaws. Ein tzaddik ba'aretz asher yaseh tov v'lo yechta. But the Tzibbur is much greater than the collective sum of its parts. The Tzibbur rises above the flaws of the individual. The Tzibbur becomes a unique entity. If I have a flaw, if my friend has a flaw, it's only problematic if the Rebbeinu Shalom puts the spotlight on him. But if a person is able to connect and to be mechaber themselves and to feel part of a congregation, part of a Tzibbur, part of a community, part of Klal Yisrael, then Klal Yisrael is protected on a level that transcends the limitation of the Yachid. The Ran in the Drashas Haran, Drush Aleph, page Hey, the Ran asks like this. Ran asks a very strong kasha. The Ran asks, we know Moshe Rabbeinu was criticized for saying to Klal Yisrael, Shimuna HaMoirim. He says to guys, so listen up, you rebels. And because of that, there was an opinion he couldn't go into Eretz Yisrael. So the kasha is, what's wrong with what Moshe Rabbeinu said? Every last Jew was a rebel. Yankel was a rebel, Beryl was a rebel, Feivel was a rebel. There was not one Yid who was not a rebel. So Moshe Rabbeinu said the Emes. What do you want him to say? Listen up, tzaddikim? They weren't tzaddikim. Says the Ran, every last Jew was a rebel. But Moshe Rabbeinu didn't refer to Yechidim as Moirim. Moshe Rabbeinu referred to the Tzibbur as Moirim. And as a Tzibbur, the Tzibbur transcends, the Tzibbur rises above the limitations and the flaws of its individual members. Says the Gemara in Krisas, Davav Amud Beis, that when Klal Yisrael gathers together on a tainus, if the Avaryonim, if the Poishim are not at the tainus, it's not a tainus, it doesn't work. They have to do it again. Ineffective. Kol tainus she'ein ima mi Poisha Yisrael ein a tainus. So the Ran asks, well, wait a second. You have a shul. It's full of 100 tzaddikim. Talmidei chachamim. Yereim u'shleimim. Perfect tzaddikim. And you're telling me that if you don't call a few murderers off the street, the tainus doesn't work. What's the problem? Wouldn't they be better off if the avaryanim stay home, if the poishim stay home, if the sinners stay home? Why do we need the sinners? Says the Ran, if you have 100 tzaddikim in shul, as great as they are, there are 100 individuals. There are 100 yechidim. And no matter how great each yachid is, they're limited. And they're limited, and they cannot pass the scrutiny of the Beis Din Shema. But when the poishim come, and the sinners walk in, and now everyone is represented, and now you have a Tzibbur, which is Roshei Tevos, Tzadikim, Beinonim, Rishayim. Now you have a Tzibbur. The Tzibbur transcends, the Tzibbur rises above the limitations of each individual. So we're looking for a trick. In a few days before the Yom Naram, this is the trick. The trick is, B'soich Ami Anoichi Yoshamas. We have to change our mindset. Everybody sits on the Yom Naram, sits in their table, sits at their chair, and thinks, what am I going to do this year? How am I going to improve my learning? How am I going to improve my davening? How am I going to improve my tefillah? How am I going to improve my chesed, my ben adam lachaveroi, my shalom bayis? And this is all critical, this is all important. Cheshbon hanefesh. But the trick to have a successful Yom Adin is to begin to view yourself as part of a greater entity. You don't want the Rebbeinu Shalom to look at you by yourself. Because as great as a person is, even a tzaddik, even a isha hashunamis, even a woman who the Navi is going to say, I'll give you whatever you want, cannot override the scrutiny of the din if she didn't belong to the collective tzibur of Klal Yisrael. was invited to speak here tonight to give Divrei Hisoros before Leil Slichos. But I would be remiss if I didn't address the fact that this is my first opportunity to address the Olam after news of what they say in English of the upcoming installation has become official. And I want to say it's a very exciting time for me, very exciting for my family, and I'm sure it's a very exciting time for the whole Kehillah as well. We look forward to Mirz Hashem, B'siyata D'Shmaya, to growing together for many years to come, Gesundheit Heit, to develop a Kehillah, L'Shem L'Teferes, L'Kadei Shem Shamayim Barabim, L'Hagdil Torah L'Adira, Mirz Hashem. But especially as a Yom Naram approach, it's very important for all of us to try to maximize the benefits that are available for people who feel part of a Kehillah. The more that we consider ourselves part of a greater entity, the more we consider ourselves part of a Tzibbur, part of Klal Yisrael, the more we are offering ourselves a protection and a bracha and a skula that is otherwise not available. Because no matter how high we climb during Yom Naram, no matter how big a tzaddik we are, we're all limited as Yechidim. On a Rosh Hashanah, on Yom Kippur, the mindset should be, I am a member of Klal Yisrael. I'm a member of my Kehillah. I'm a member of my Tzibbur. And this will offer us a level of protection, a level of zechus, a level of bracha that may be otherwise not possible for us on our own merits. Rabbi said we all want to stand tall on Rosh Hashanah. Everyone's trying to come out with a good year. Everyone's hoping for good health, for gezint, for nachas. How do we stand tall on Rosh Hashanah? Everybody wants Atem Nitzavim. Everybody wants to be standing tall. Says Moshe Rabbeinu in this week's parasha, Atem Nitzavim. You want to stand tall on what day? Hayoim. Says the Zohar, Hayoim is Rosh Hashanah. Atem Nitzavim Hayoim. Then the attitude needs to be Atem Nitzavim Hayoim Kulchem. Have an attitude of Kulchem, that you're part of the Kulchem, you're part of the Tzibbur, you're part of the Kehillah, you're part of Knesset Yisrael. And with that attitude, and with that focus, and with that Hasaga, Yibon Sham should be Mevarech all of us. Please accept my sincere wishes to the whole Kehillah for a year of good health, Gezint, Nachas, Parnasa Berevach, Bimali Hashem, Kol Mishal Haseinu L'Toiva, Aksiv L'Sima Toiva, Gebench Diyar. Thank you for coming.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.